Well, hey folks, my name is Brad, and if you're new to my videos, typically I film my adventures up here in the mountains of Vermont with my metal detector, searching for the treasures lost by those who used to live here in the 18 and sometimes the 1700s. And it has always been a dream of mine to find things much older. And just 2 days ago, my dream became a reality when I was invited to travel out of Vermont to do some metal detecting at a very special place. A property that at one time was the location for a Native American village that over 400 years ago, in the early 1600s, was actively trading with Europeans. So the things that I found that day were European in origin, but were owned and used and sometimes altered by the Native Americans that lived there. Now, out of respect for the location and the landowner and my fellow metal detectorist friend who invited me and requested not to be in the video, I did not film anything above the horizon, which means nothing like this, no scenery, and no drone footage. So the format of this video will be slightly different than what I usually make, but hopefully you'll still enjoy, as several of the things I found can be considered finds of a lifetime. So without further ado, the Native American village. All right, well, I didn't find this. My buddy found this, but this is a piece of worked flint. I've still yet to find a native stone point of any kind, but this is close to it. I'm gonna stick this in my bag and I'm gonna take this home with me. But this is what I just found, and I didn't know what it was. I'm still learning all of this very old stuff, but it had, has a very particular shape to it. And this winds up being the sprue that when they were pouring lead into a mold to make a musket ball, this would have been, the little extra drip on top of the mold. They would have busted this off and then they would have had a nice little musket ball in the mold. So this is some leftover from the musket ball making process. Can't tell you how excited I am to find all this stuff today. This is the stuff that folks in the United States dream about finding. See if we can find some more. All right, well, I was called over to check out a target, so I didn't technically find this myself, but this is what's called a kettle point, a piece of an actual brass kettle cut up to become a point, an arrowhead, by a native in this area. As we were discussing them earlier, some of them have holes as where they were affixed to the wooden shaft, and some of them don't, and this one appears not to. The end is folded over. I am not going to try to fix that. That is absolutely one of the coolest things I've ever held in my hand, but also ever found with a metal detector, by far. So I'm going to have to say thank you, sir, for both bringing me here and allowing me to dig this target. Insane. Insane. All right, well, I was just digging a nail, and as my buddy instructed me, this is a rose head nail. This is from the 1600s, given where we are, and this most likely would have been a trade item with the natives. These would have been quite valuable to them, obviously. And then he just tossed me this, a fragment of a trade knife. So this would have been the handle here, integral bolster here, and then the blade would have been out here. All of this stuff is things that we find at places from the 1700s and even the 1800s, but given where we are, they have a whole lot more significance, both to the people they belong to then and to me for sure. Incredible. All right, well, I'm not sure if it's just going to be scrap brass or if it is a point, but I did get a brass target here. Oh man, that's probably just scrap. It's not quite, well, I don't know. I'll have to talk to the expert, but certainly a piece of kettle brass. So I am excited. All right, well, my buddy said he has 1 million of these things, so he passed it off to me. But I wanted to show the camera here because this is a kettle point that does have a hole in it. It's missing a corner, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect they would have put some gut through that to help affix it to the wood shaft. Sinew. That was close. Awesome. So, as you may have discovered, as I did, these brass and copper pots, or kettles as they were called, were an incredible asset for the Native Americans at the time. Not only were they lighter and more durable and better at transferring heat than the clay they had been using for thousands of years, once they developed holes and could no longer hold water, they would then be cut up to become a myriad of other useful things, like arrowheads, tools, and as we'll see coming up, jewelry as well. They truly let nothing go to waste. Now, the natives would have been living here for millennia, and of course until Europeans arrived they would have been using stone arrowheads. And at this point I personally had never even held a Native American arrowhead, let alone found one myself. But that was about to change. Alright, well I just got a very small lead target, and I didn't know what it was, so I went and asked my buddy who is very knowledgeable in all this, and he thinks maybe that this is a musket ball that was cast here. There's still a sprue left over from where they poured into a mold, and this side is what confused me, and he thinks maybe that this is where it was placed into the barrel and slammed down with the ramrod. So that's cool. Natives were casting their own bullets and then using them. So cool. Well, there's a piece of brass right here, just barely exposed, and we'll take it out together. Holy smokes, and there's a hole in it. That is insane. Insane. My buddy's standing right here. Should I flatten it out? Can you flatten it out for me? I'm too nervous. You did it. Wow. Now, if we were to put a date range on it, 1635 to 1646 is what you're saying. That would have to be the oldest thing I've, ever held from a field, metal detecting. And the history behind it, incredible. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that in New England. Are you kidding me? That thing is crazy looking. And it's so big. It's so much bigger than the other ones. Did they get much bigger than that? No, that's about it. Man. Now, without words, was that dropped? Or was that shot and the arrow was lost? You think it was shot? So close to their homes. Wow. Incredible. I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough. Well, holy smokes, if it isn't my very first piece of worked flint, I think. Maybe it isn't. Okay, well, I just had a chat with my buddy, and he says that this is a cast off. They were making a tool, and this would have been blown off when they were doing that. This flint is not native to this area, so this would have been taken from somewhere else and worked here. So that's good. That's my first piece of native flint that I've personally found with my eyeballs. It's not a point, but I am very happy about that for sure. Beautiful. All right, well, I didn't know what this was. We played a little game of trivia, and all my guesses were wrong. He's saying this is a trade item. This was a pewter smoking pipe, and this is the mouthpiece to that. Just like the clay ones that folks find all the time, this is a metal one, which is how we found it with a metal detector. Europeans would have traded this to the natives. And were they smoking anything before the Europeans got here? Out of what? Oh, they did out of clay. Interesting. Man, I know nothing about this stuff. So cool. All right, well, this is my very first point, but it's not done. It's a preform, as my friend has told me, which means they didn't finish it. And it's all busted, but it has been worked on both sides. He was just showing me some different designs or different variations of this same design, and that it's a Lavana, and it can be estimated to be from the year 800 to 1000. So this could, well, it's definitely over 1,000 years old. Is that what you're telling me? Whew, man, 1,000 years old. It's hard to comprehend. Again, tip's broken off. This piece over here is broken off, but it is most certainly a native point, a Lavana, so I'm told. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Over 1,000 years old. It's hard for me to comprehend that someone sat down, made that, affixed it to the end of a wooden shaft, and used it in an attempt to feed themselves or their family or their village over 1,000 years ago. Now, I know there's some places in the United States where it's hard to walk through a field without tripping over arrowheads and Native American artifacts, but I personally have never found anything like this, and it really puts into perspective just how old and incredible these things truly are. At this point, it's one of the coolest things I'd ever found until this thing I am about to find, which I can honestly say may be the most incredible thing I've ever found with a metal detector. No kidding. All right, so my buddy just told me that what I just found, we were talking about this, I got the trifecta, right? Oh no, an axe head is the trifecta. Trade axe is the trifecta. This is a tinkler with an L at the end there, a tinkler, but he said that it's not quite done. Preform, but it has the shape. This is the kettle brass once again, and he just told me, I'm gonna say it like I know what I'm talking about, but I did not know any of this 30 seconds ago. They would put some sinew through it and hang it off their wrists and ankles, and then when they danced, it would make sound. What do you got? A little teeny tiny ball too, and he just tossed this to me, which is not done. A little point that's not done. And another piece of kettle. Holy smokes, man. Insane. Insane. This is what I found. He just tossed all this stuff at me. Oh no, I lost his ball. Crazy, man. What do you say? Native artifacts. Another one. Lost it. Does it have a hole? Nope. This is thick. Real thick. Look at that. No hole in this one, but it's certainly a point. That's a beauty. So cool. It's definitely the thickest one I've seen today. I wonder if that was just like further towards the bottom of the kettle. I suspect they would have started there and then worked their way up, and then so cool. So cool. I can't keep thanking you, but I keep feeling thankful, so thank you. Man. All right, well, my buddy spotted this. This isn't me, but he's saying that this is a clay pipe fragment, obviously, and because of how wide it is, it's definitely period with this place, 1600s, and either it was a Frenchman or a Dutchman, or it was traded to a native. I've actually never, still haven't, but I've never found a clay pipe fragment. I have actually found a lead pipe, which we spoke about earlier. He was saying that's early 1700s, which is what I suspected, but never clay. So there's an example. Super cool. Dude, so I don't know anything about these, so I'm going to be talking to my buddy here, and I'll edit out his voice. So I know what I'm talking, sounds like I know what I'm talking about. So I just dug, I thought for sure it was gonna be a piece of kettle brass because we've been finding a lot of it right here. and it popped out and it was round. And I said, ah, grommet. It's not a grommet, it's a ring. And you guys have found them here in the past. It's a Jesuit ring. Man, oh my God, it's not broken at all. Here. That thing is insane. IHS, which we were talking about these. We were talking about these earlier, and IHS is. We decided it was Latin for Jesus, and the Jesuits were coming here to reform the natives, and they were giving them rings, right? Learning the Lord's Prayer and converting to Christianity. Man, this is insane. I can't thank you enough. I gotta shake your hand again. This is the type of thing where I didn't know they existed until I started metal detecting and following guys like the guy that's sitting next to me, and now I have one. Now I found one. Holy smokes. Well, right at the end of the day too. If I found that first, it would have been all downhill from there, right? Crazy. So it's hard for me to describe truly how incredible that ring really is, especially considering where I found it. And the relationship and history between the Jesuits and the Native Americans is far too complex for me to quickly summarize here in this video. So if that time period interests you, I highly urge you to do your own research either online or at your local library, because it is fascinating. Now that ring really was the last thing I found that day. It ended an already incredible day on the highest of high notes. And shortly after, my friend and I combined all of the things we found, set it all up, and did a quick wrap up. All right, I'm just gonna do a quick wrap up here. This is all of our stuff combined at the end of the day, and I am absolutely blown away by all of this stuff. This is all scrap flint, stuff that was discarded in the point making process, if I understand that correctly. And I have my point that I found. I can't tell you how excited I am about that. It's my first one ever. And next to it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kettle brass points, arrowheads. As I think I've probably mentioned by now, I didn't know these things even existed before I started the hobby of metal detecting, and now I own 6 of them. And he just put this here. This is a blue Venetian glass trade bead. A whole bunch of lead. No effigies today. I don't think I've even explained what that is. Sometimes they would carve animals out of lead. But he did find this, what we're calling a game piece. This is all kettle brass, this huge pile, and you know, they were probably destined to become something, but they were lost along the way. We have 2 full musket balls. This musket ball has a little sprue still left on it. These things, I actually found 4 of these. These were in the longhouses, traded, obviously, because they're made out of iron, and they would have been a hanger of some kind. Did I say that right? Okay. But I found 5 fragments of these things. A couple rosehead nails, and then, you know, last but certainly not least, the Jesuit ring. I'm sure that's on many a bucket list. And here I am with one. 1630s, 1630 to 1650. Aside from this 1,000-year-old arrowhead, this has got to be one of the oldest things I've ever found, and also one of the most, I don't know, I'm at a loss for words. It's incredible. Thank you, again. What a day! And this is just a normal Thursday for you, huh? Alright folks, well I hope you enjoyed this video. That trip will be one that I will remember for the rest of my life, and hopefully someday I can go back out and do it again. Next week, I will be up here in the mountains of Vermont searching for things from the 1700s and 1800s. Hopefully you'll join me. I'll see you then.